here's a pen that will write a poem of me and you.
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle, and welcome to part 3 of Main Character May.
Today, we'll be looking at the actual, character of our main character, Major Bludd.
And as usual, we'll be starting with the file cards.
And the first thing to talk about is the codename, because it isn't actually a codename. He really is Major Bludd. His full name is Sebastian Bludd, and he really is a major. Though he's also a mercenary, so I'm not quite sure how that works. This is the first time a character's codename is just his real name. Well, technically Destro counts, whose first figure was released the same year as Bludd's, but his card said real name unknown at the time. His primary specialty is, being a terrorist.
That'll look good on the old resume.
Seriously though, it's kind of a broad term to be a specialty. His second specialty, weapons and tactics, at least tell you something. The card's full text starts by mentioning he got his initial military training in the Australian Special Air Service, or SASR. Oh, I forgot to mention he's from Australia, and I will not make you suffer by trying to do an Australian accent.
Mate?
He then joined the French Foreign Legion for a while. This training allowed him to become a military advisor to several countries. It also made him wanted for crimes in Libya and Rhodesia. Rhodesia stopped existing in 1980 and became Zimbabwe, and this card is from 83. I guess the country was still known more by its old name at that point. That or he committed crimes there before it became a new country. He's got a great tactical mind and is familiar with all infantry and small arms weapons. The second paragraph tells us he's a poet, a bad one, and it gives an example of his poetry. In fact, there are two versions of this file card, each with their own poem.
I will now perform them both badly. Ahem. When you're feeling low and woozy, slap a fresh clip in your Uzi. Assume the proper firing stance and make the suckers jump and dance. A mercenary's job is a heartless one. I'm a soldier for hire like a pawn shop gun. My ruthless tactics keep you on your toes, 'cause I fight 'em all, whether friend or foes. Yeah, there was no way I was gonna memorize all that. This isn't theater, folks. It's a video.
Look, I'm not a poetry critic, so you guys decide in the comments which is the best or least worst, okay? And that was the first card.
You know what wasn't on there?
An explanation for his frickin' arm. Yeah, it isn't clarified what the bloody thing is supposed to be, pun intended. Oh, and I checked ahead and read all the other file cards. It's never brought up on those either. Not even on the convention one, written by fans. You can sort of infer from the cards that he's seen a lot of action, but that's it. Moving on, out of all the file cards, version 2's is the most different from the original. And not just because it's on a red background, making it difficult to read.
Thank you, Hasbro.
His specialties now include assassination and process serving? Yeah, he serves legal papers now. Pretty sure that's meant to be a joke. Actually, other stuff on the card is meant to be funny too. It starts off by calling him Mercenary Slime, who trained out his own grandmother as a tackling dummy.
Enjoy that mental image.
He's also wanted on 3 different continents just on general principles. Which seems like a less than solid legal argument, but what do I know? Oh, and his weapon expertise now includes anything with nasty spikes sticking out of it. Hey, was this the inspiration for version 3's helmet? It goes on to say that when he heard Cobra had invented sonic weapons, he went out and stole his own private arsenal?
So he stole from Cobra, the guys he was working for.
Okay, I'm not saying he wouldn't do that, but it makes more sense for the Joes to have invented that tech and for him to steal it from them, that's all I'm saying. This card does not have a poem, but it does elaborate on how bad his poetry is, like how his haikus have 16 syllables.
Okay, I've changed my mind. Being wanted on principle is totally justified here.
The card ends by saying he's a sharpshooter. Okay, why the hell wasn't that listed with his specialties? Also, none of this card explains why he's covered in grenades. Those things are rarely associated with sharpshooting. There are 2 versions of the third file card. a traditional looking one with more text and more equipment listed, and one with a larger picture. The first one gives him a motto, or a quote at least. Throw another Joe on the Barbie, mate.
Because he's Australian, you see. Boomerang! You call that a knife? Sorry, I forgot. No accents.
The card praises him, then insults him by saying he has a tactical mind like a steel trap and a face that looks like it was caught in one.
Well, that's uncalled for.
The variant card omits this as well as the quote. Both do mention one thing I forgot to talk about when it came to the figure. He has a personalized hidden elbow spike that is indeed on the figure. I didn't talk about it last time because, well, I forgot it was there.
Hey, it's hidden, so cut me some slack.
That's the nice thing about doing this in multiple parts. You can correct your errors along the way. And this does mean that at least they did something special with his arm again. The other cards mostly regurgitate the first, sometimes omitting the poem, but when it is included, it's always the oozy one. Oh, and version 5 has no PP. Mentioned on it, even though he's the leader of the bling bling version of the Python Patrol. And those were the file cards.
So, what did we learn, class?
Well, it's more what we didn't learn, really. Like about the goddamn arm. No, I'm never letting that go. Or how he got his eye patch. We did learn he's a poet, though not a good one. The concept of a soldier poet isn't a new one, going back at least to ancient Greece with people like Archilochus, and the most famous modern example being John McCrae, who wrote In Flanders Fields.
Though Bludd's work is probably less in Flanders Fields and more...
Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe Bludd isn't his real name, but he's called that because of his bloody awful poetry. Hey, that's how Spike got his nickname, you know, William the Bloody from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Next time, we'll close the book on Major Bludd as we take a look at his appearances in other media.
Well, I'll see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing?
In my hand is a pen that will write a poem of me and you.